Hi everyone, my name is Phyllis and I'm the owner of Mad Moody Quilting Fabrics. Today we're going to continue working with the little 4-inch log cabin trim tool. 2 weeks ago we did the 4-inch traditional log cabin, and last week we did the little courthouse steps. And this week we're going to continue and doing a half log cabin, very different. Okay, so before I move on to showing you what to do and how to do that, the Creative Grid rulers, okay, have all different sizes and different sizes, but along with different ideas within the each size. So there is a 10-inch log cabin trim tool duo, and you can do the traditional log cabin and courtyard steps and the half log cabin, which we're going to do today, but with the smaller ruler. They also do, on this one, they also have the skinny. So they do the skinny regular log cabin, courtyard steps, and then they do a skinny half log cabin. Okay, so and that finishes at 10 inches. So they have that one. All right, so then they also have an 8-inch log cabin trim tool. They do, oh, also before I move on, they also do this log cabin, which is a fat with a skinny, a fat with a skinny, and it's like a square within a square within a square, and they are really cute. I might do a demo on how to do that along with the skinny one. It's on the agenda to do. Now the 8-inch log cabin trim tool, same thing as the 4, except it's 8 inches and the center block is a little bit bigger. Your strip or your logs are a little bit wider. And again, you can do the traditional log cabin, the courthouse step, and the half log cabin. So that's 8 inches. It does the same thing. And I'm going to show you today the half log cabin. I will put the links down for the other two, and I'll put the links down below for all these rulers I'm showing you. All right, the last one has 2 sizes in it. It's the traditional, size, 12 and a half finish, 12 and a half raw, 12 inches finish. But they also, down in this corner here, and I don't know if you can, let me just pick up this, put it on this mat. I think you'll be able to see it better. Yeah, you can see it. So right here on this corner is the 6-inch log cabin. Now I believe I have done a video on this with the 6-inch with this ruler. Now you have a different size square versus the square size for this. But again, you can do the traditional log cabin, you can do the courthouse steps, and the half log cabin with this ruler in 2 different sizes. So like I said, I will put the link down below for all these rulers, and then you'll be able to take a look. Now, I've got myself organized. I'm going to put the overhead camera on and put myself up in the corner. So I have my square. I do not know if it's perfectly square, and I'm really not going to worry about it. It might be a little off. Oh, excuse me. It might be a little off, but you know what? It's what it is. So we're going to start with, this is not ironed nicely. I'm going to just get this nicely ironed so it lies flat. There we go. I am going to start with this color here, whatever color I'm going to put here, and then I'm going to do the background and come back, square this up, and then do this log. And I'm going to do it in the same order as what I've done here. Now you can do the other way if you want. It's still 6 rounds. All right, so the first color I want is this one. I'm going to just trim away this excess. And again, we don't have to get all, oh my God, it has to be straight. Now, I'm making the choice of making it a little longer. Because I am too lazy to make a straight line. So we're just going to put this on. And we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to sew that. All right, here we go. The first log is going on. There we go. And we're just going to go ahead and get that ironed down. We have to iron in between each log going on. And the reason is because we're sewing across them. So we have to iron down each one and make sure it's square. The next one that's going to be used is this gray fabric. And again, again, we're going to I'm trying to figure out right here. All right. So now we are going to go ahead and put this on. I did some many flips there till I figured it out. I like to have my sample beside me so I know what I'm doing. We're going to cut this a little bit wider than it needs to be. And we're just going to trim this roughly. And we're going to go to the sewing machine and get this sewn down. Now, there is 6 rounds, I think it's 6 rounds, to a half square triangle on this ruler versus 3 rounds on the other 2 blocks that I did earlier this month. All right, back to the overhead camera. We are going to trim off this excess. Let's clean it up a little bit. And then we're going to square this up for the first squaring. Now we are going to put the first square, round 1, and we're going to line up. Oh, you can't see that. Sorry. We're going to line up to this log and this log, those 2 sides, because we want to make sure we leave our 1/4 inch there. And we're not going to square this side up. We are only working this way. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, line up that square, this top side of the square and the right side to the log cabin. And I prefer working with the smaller, when I'm working with these smaller pieces. Oops, it is. There we go. So that's lined up, and that's the only cut you need to do. Now we're going to turn this sideways so we know what we're doing, and we're going to pick up the next color that we want there, and that is going to be this one. So I'm going to go ahead and probably eyeball line it up there as close to it as possible, cut a little excess here, and then I'm going to go ahead, right sides together, and sew these guys together. And I'm going to just kind of make sure that doesn't have to be lined up exactly, because at the end this gets cut off, right? And I don't want to have it making it longer and longer. I'm just going to get rid of this. All right, so let's go over to the camera and we're going to get this sewn. Now you could, if let's, like I said in the past, you could chain sew these squares, these logs on. So if you're doing 20, you're going to just prep 20 of them and sew them all, and then come to your iron and sew this on. There we go. There we go. So now we're going to put this log on. So I'm just going to flip it like that. And I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. And I'm going to trim it to about the same length. I want it lined up here. I want it lined up because I don't want it creeping that way. So I'm going to line it up like that. And then I'm going to go to the sewing machine and sew this one down. I like to hold my threads because I don't like to get... So I hold my threads when I start the sewing machine. This way I don't get a bird's nest underneath. All right, so back to the overhead camera. And I'm just going to trim off. I'm going to go ahead and get this ironed. And then we're going to do our second squaring up. There we go. So I'm just going to go in and trim off this excess. You don't want this extra bulk in there, especially if you're doing hand quilting. It's just a lot of extra fabric to go through. So I'm just going to make sure that that is ironed down. There we are. And now we're going to square up. So I want the grays on this side, the colored fabric logs on this side. I want this square to be in the left hand corner. Now we're going to go to round 2. And again, we are going to line up. We are going to line up this top line of the square and this right side line of the square. And then we're just going to make sure that these are as straight as possible. I'll be honest with you, I found this one the hardest to keep square. But it's doable because you're squaring up as you go. So there you go. There we are. So now I'm going to put on this one, and that's going to be this color. That's this color. So I'm just going to line that up there. Now I'm making sure that as I go out, each one of them lines past this line, because this is to size. So we don't want, and we don't want to creep out, because then it will just get larger and larger, and you're using more fabric than you need when you do that. All right, over to the sewing machine to sew this down. And there we are. And I'm just going to get rid of some excess. This down so I can iron. So this piece is now on, and we're going to do the third round of the gray. All right, so now I'm just going to put the gray like this. You know what? I'm just going to do it like this so it's easier for me to measure. That's not the way I'm going to sew it, obviously, but it's just easier for me to trim off and cut. So again, I'm making sure that the piece that I'm putting on is past this square, but I don't need it keep going like I've said it one too many times. You get the gist. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and get this sewn down. So we're finishing off round 3, and like I said, I believe, if I remembered correctly, We'll find out in a minute, in a few minutes. There is 6 rounds to the half square, the half log cabin. There's 6 rounds. All right. So now we're just going to go ahead and trim off any excess threads. I just want to make sure we're cleaned up. If you send your quilts out to a long armer, she'll be very, very pleased that you cleaned up after yourself with your threads. Now we're just going to go ahead and get this ironed, and then we are going to trim up. Now this is round 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we are going to use round 3, the square that says round 3 on it. And you're just going to line up. You have some dotted lines. You kind of want to make sure that they're square. And once they are square, we will get a much better block out of this when it's all said and done. So there we are. I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm going to get rid of that. And that one's ready. This is squared up. So we're going to do round 4. Round 4 is going to be this fabric. Okay, so I'm going to line that up there. And we're going to go to the sewing machine. And there we are. All right. We are going to iron this and put on the next background piece. And that's this one. And we're going to go ahead and get that sewn on. These blocks do not take long. If you're organized, you have pre-cut strips, and then you just have to trim them down, trim them to the size that you need for each block. You can chain sew these and get a whole bunch done in this, you know, each step done as a chain. Now I've just cleaned up everything, and I'm just going to go ahead and get this ironed, and then we're going to square this round up. And now we're working on squaring up round 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to look for round 4. Now round 4, when we did the other ones, we stopped at round 3. So now round 4, it says half log cabin round 4. So we're going to use that, and we are going to go ahead and square things up, making sure that our block is as square as we can get it. And that's round 4 all ready to go. Now we're going to go to round 5, and that's going to be this fabric right here. So again, I'm going to put that like that. And we're going to go ahead and get that sewn. Okay. Back to the sewing machine we go. And we're almost finished. We have this round and one more round after, and then we're done. And then we just square it up, and Bob's your uncle. the block is done. These are sweet, sweet blocks. Those of you who have been following me, I think you guys, or quilt with me, personally quilt with me, I think you guys already know that I am always fascinated with smaller pieces. I like small pieces. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and put on this log cabin piece. Oop, it didn't turn. So we're just going to line up this edge as best we can. And we're going to go to the sewing machine and get this one sewn down. So after this, we just have one more set of logs to put on, and then we're done. It is that easy. You see that it doesn't take long to do one block. Now I'm just going to trim that off. You get into a kind of a rhythm also when you're doing these blocks. And if you really are good, you can prep each log for the total of blocks that you want to make, and then you can sit down and just sew those logs on and then get up and square them up. Okay, so we're doing round 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So because I've counted both, I see that I have all 5 logs here. I have all 5 logs here. I haven't made a mistake or forgotten to do something. So again, you are going to line this up on your sewing lines or seam in the ditch as best you can. And then we're just going to square this up. All right, so there. Now we are going to do the last one, and that's this fabric. And I'm going to get rid of the selvage here. There, it's gone. And I'm just going to line it up as best I can. Oops. Trim off what I don't need. This is our last round. So we're going to head over to the sewing machine. We're just going to get this last round done so we can see how cute these blocks are. Oopsie daisy. All right, back to the overhead camera. I'm just going to trim away any excess thread I don't want. It's going to get trimmed off there. All right, so now I'm going to iron this. And these little log cabins are a great way to get rid of excess fabric in your stash that is left over from other projects. These strips that I'm using is left over from a half square triangle quilt that I've been working on. They're 1-inch half square triangles. I've been working on it for a long, long time, and I'm having so much fun doing it. I think I showed it off on a video a while back, so you can check those out. All right, we are on our very last. I'm just going to get rid of this. There we go. That's much better. So we're on our very last log. So the same thing goes. We're just going to trim this, and then we are going to go ahead and move over to the camera for the sewing machine, and we're going to sew this last log on. And we're going to iron and square this whole thing up. And there we are. All right. So I'm going to get rid of threads just because I hate being messy. And we're going to get rid of this. And then we're going to go ahead and get this ironed, and we're going to square this cute little block up. There we go. So we are going to put the last round, which is half log cabin round 6, in there. Now you can see that I'm all lined up here, and we're going to cut that off, we're going to cut that off, we're going to cut this side and this side. So what I'm going to do, there we go. That's as good as it's going to get. I'm going to turn this gently. We're going to, yeah. And then we're going to make sure that we're lined back up, making sure everything hasn't moved. And we're just going to go ahead and get rid of the last of that. And there's our log cabin. So you can do play around with these half log cabins and do something with. I've never done a log cabin up to now. I've never done a half log cabin up to now. And I think they're really, really cute. And so there's a fun thing there to do. I think they're really, really cute. And so I'm just going to go back to the overhead camera because I want to show you them all laid out. There's this one. There's the courtyard steps, and then the traditional log cabin. Aren't they adorable? They are really fun. And it does not take long to do any of these. It does not take long at all, at all, at all, at all. They will make beautiful little borders. They would make an amazing looking quilt for a bed with multiples, like just loads of these. These are 4 inches. So if you put 4 of these together, you could, let me just see. These are 4 inches. These are 4 inches. If you put 4 together of these, and then you make the 8-inch, they would fit to this 8-inch. 4, see if you do, and you sew these together, they would fit on the 8-inch log cabin because they're finished at 4. This is finished at 8. You have your seam allowance, and they would fit. So you could really have a lot of fun designing your own log cabin quilt that will look very different than other people's quilts. Or you can stick with the traditional looks and use these for borders, or you could use them for going around an applique as part of a round robin with several thickness, like several rows of them or something. You can really have a lot of fun with these blocks. So I am going to go ahead and put the link down below for the ruler for this 4-inch ruler. I will make sure that you have the link for the 8-inch, the 10-inch, and of course the 6 and 12-inch combo rulers. So you can take a look at these and check them out. And if you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of when a video is uploaded. So you have a good day and happy sewing. Bye-bye.